Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This week, we will talk about the housing supply. Stick with us until the end. You don't want to miss this. Hello, Chris.
Well, hello, Dragos.
And also, welcome to the first episode of the podcast.
Glad to be here.
Perfect. So this podcast is about real estate and housing. You are a real estate broker from Calgary,
Alberta, Canada.
Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I love Alberta, and I am a ex real estate broker from Quebec. 15 years in Montreal and surrounding area. And we've decided to do this project together, which is called My Podcast Hub, which is talk about real estate, have guests on the podcast, and also promoting and teaching people how to podcast. So let's get into it. As I stated in the title, the introduction, in August, Calgary's resale real estate market saw a drop in sales and an increase in supplies, reaching levels not seen since late 2022. I would like to show you this article here, and I want your opinion. So see this here. Calgary Real Estate Board released market statistics for last month, showing inventory grew 37% year over year, with more than 4,487 homes for sale. Although an improvement in supply, inventory is still 25% below the long-term historical average. How do you see that, Chris?
Well, and you know, that kind of rings true of what we have been seeing in the market. The buyers are starting to see a little bit of inventory. They're starting to actually have choices, which we haven't seen better part of a year, or even a little bit more. It's gone from a crazy seller's market, and I do mean quite literally crazy. Some of the decisions that were being made by some of the buyers who were just frustrated or nervous. We're starting to see some ease in that, which is very, very welcome here in our market. And I think you'll even find most of the real estate agents stating the same thing. It's not just the buyers. Even the sellers are finding a little bit of reprieve in that.
Yeah, I canceled my real estate license in 2022. So I was a real estate broker since 2009. So about close to 14 years. And I also saw sellers markets, buyers markets, but the one that I saw in the pandemic, I never saw that type of market, and brokers that had 30, 40, 50 years of experience never saw that type of market.
No.
Prices in Quebec almost doubled in 3 years, almost doubled, which was crazy. And I for about a year, we had an average of more than 10 offers on a property, on multiple offers, at least. There were condos that were selling 20, 30, 40,000 above asking in Quebec, which was never seen. And so there were about 20, 30, 40 offers on the table. And that pushed the prices upwards, obviously, but also got a lot of people stressed and also bad taste for real estate. I would like to compare that with Calgary. How was it during the pandemic and up to now? What was it like I said, 30, 40 offers on a property, selling 100,000 over asking in a case of a single home, or was it less stressful?
Well, and probably all the above. I think in the height of it, for our group, we had our largest was one property that had 52 offers, 105,000 over ask price on a, if I remember right, it was like 480 ask. Yeah, so I mean, we've definitely been seeing some of that same stuff as well. Going into the pandemic here was quite a bit different than the rest of Canada. We've been a stagnant market for so long here in Calgary. It's kind of ridiculous. With the beginning of the pandemic, we're all pretty concerned. As I think we were through, the rest of a lot of Canada was very, very concerned, which then led to a lot of stimulus by the government and a lot of people staying at home and a lot of people working at home. A lot of people foreseeing that being their future, and they wanted to upgrade from there. Life went on, but now with a lot more of it being spent at home. And so we saw a lot of people going out and buying. And usually when you see that, you see a lot less people starting to sell as well. So we definitely hit some strong market through there. The difference that I think that we've seen versus the rest of Canada is, as a lot of it shrunk over this last year, this is when we really started to take off. After a full decade or more of being stagnant, we were the golden child in Canada. We weren't used to that. We were not used to seeing the type of market here that you normally read about in Toronto
and Vancouver.
Yeah, Toronto and Vancouver.
It's true. The same thing with Montreal.
Yeah. And it's always been quite a flat, stagnant market here. So we've definitely seen a lot of tumultuousness over the past quite a while here in Calgary. But it's starting to ease a little bit, which is good. We need that. We need a little more inventory. We need a few less sales. But I don't think we're through it yet. And I don't think we're going to be through it for a while either. I think we're going to continue to be an off market for a bit.
Yeah, I believe that too. I believe that until the probably the government has to step in to build more homes.
Yeah,
and build it the right way. Okay, I'm not just saying giving gifts to rich promoters. I'm not saying that. Okay, or tax credits. One of the points that I believe it's a solution is the government should start building not cheap homes, but building homes and sell them at the lowest price possible. Also do the same in the rental market. Build good quality buildings, but ask for the cheapest rent in the market. And then with that, will probably push people to lower prices. One of the solutions. There are many of them. What do you think that it will take to get out of this crazy market?
Yeah. Well, and I honestly, Jarvis, I think I both agree and I disagree. I think the government, not to get into a political conversation by any means, but I think the government is responsible for a lot of what's been going on here. And I think a lot of it is just because, and not just saying the Liberal government or anything like that, but our governments tend to be very reactionary. And it seems like things are very short-sighted. A lot of the stimulus that raised our economy and raised our housing has also been the cause of, these massive price increases and the housing shortage, these large immigration policies, which now they're totally backturning and doing a reversal on. It kind of rings a little bit true to me of 05, 06 and what was happening there, where we started really ramping up construction. Here in Calgary, we decided to go up instead of out. So we started going with tons of condos in our downtown core. And then we ended up with tons of holes in the ground because we weren't that market that's sustained the condo market. I see a lot of that going on right now, a lot of it with rental properties. The vast majority of the construction that's happening here particularly, but throughout the rest of Canada as well, is rental construction. it's huge, and it's a lot of multifamily. It leaves me to wonder, with the immigration policies being changed, and particularly with temporary workers and temporary students that are coming in, who then, if they're leaving in a couple of years, we've then got this massive inventory again. Are we going to be faced with the same thing that we did in 2008, where prices suddenly crash because we've had so much inventory from us being so reactionary to what's going on right here, right now? It scares me a little bit. I guess it really does. Like, it's,
that's one of my points also. And why I'm saying that is because when we moved from Romania in '96 in Quebec, they were getting out of the recession from 92 to 95, 96. Okay. And we bought a foreclosure. My parents bought a foreclosure at, I believe it was 67,000. And that house today is 450 up to 500. Okay. Without any renovation, like, maybe the roof and the windows. So this, I believe, at some point, prices will have to change. Something will happen. It's just markets. So in every market that I look, let's say it's United States, you have ups, you have downs. You have ups, you have downs. Wall Street as well. In Canada, I didn't see that. I've been in Canada for 28 years, and I never saw a big drop in price. It's true, there were some, especially in condos, 2005 and 6 and 8. I understand that there were, especially in Quebec, a small, like a 2-3-5% drop, but nothing like 20, 30, 40. That was to be equal with the increase from the pandemic. You understand, like the big price change, gap down. So I believe at one point that will happen as well. And not to make politics, like talk about politics, but when the conservative government was in place, the housing was pretty good. So that's also something that it's I believe, because I come from a country with Romania before '89 was communist, so a little bit left leaning. Very much left leaning. I don't want to accentuate this point, but we talk about it. We're going to talk about it. I like it. I believe that there's also, you said the word short sight.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one of the problems as well. Not seeing, not doing things, not being prepared. Administrate the right way. Stop increasing taxes and taxing people. Give people a choice and hope. And that, I believe, it's also a point. What do you believe?
Well, if you look at things like the interest rates, just how fast that climbed. I mean, obviously they were unsustainable to be as low as they were for anywhere near as long as they were, and they had been prepping for this for quite a while, and running those stress tests and stuff. But to increase things within the period of around a year, where people's monthly payments are doubled,
yeah,
that's reactionary.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point as well.
Well, and it's reactionary because of the things that you did to make it that way, to stimulate. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything seems to be. It's like a brand new driver in the middle of winter. His 18-year-old kid just got his license, and he's driving in the middle of winter, and he's slipping and sliding, and he's overcorrecting like crazy, and he's leaving a raft of accidents behind. I kind of feel like that's what our government has been doing over the last quite a while. Once again, I'm venturing into the political side, but as long as that continues, and for whatever future things that happen over the next little bit, we will remain a tumultuous market. Like, we will. Things are going to be up, things are going to be down, things are going to be up, things are going to be down. And we won't have that kind of just nice, easy, steady growth over the next number of decades that we just, we really need. And actually, you'd mentioned about the not seeing those price decreases of 30-40%. We did.
Yeah.
We did here. Yeah.
Alberta. Yeah, that's my point. Yes, I didn't say that, but I had it in my mind. Okay, yeah. Alberta is free market. That's one of the reasons I really like the culture and the can-do culture. Like
the Cowboys.
We win. You know what I'm saying? I love it. So yes, it's true that I knew Alberta, but in in socialist provinces, I didn't see that. The prices didn't come down.
Yeah.
Well, and at one point, it's just physics. It's physics. It's not intelligence. It's physics.
Yeah. What goes up must come down, or at least right? Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Well, and right now, a big part of what we're seeing, actually, a big part of what we're not seeing, but is happening here, is the condo market, the new construction, the pre-sale market or the pre-construction market, and the Ontario buyers still coming in.
Yeah.
We see all the reports for resale because that's nice and easy for us to all to gather. But I think the real story that's not being told is in this whole new construction market, and we're going to start seeing some very crazy things happening now that we're starting to see the actual developments coming in where people are taking possession or not able to take possession on properties that they've been buying out here, never having seen them.
Okay, so you're telling me like in Vancouver, people are buying condos for investment on plan, right?
Yep.
Before pre-construction plan. And then now they have to pay for it once they go to the notary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they will realize that it's too much, they pay too much, or they can't rent that high, or what is it?
So kind of a combination of both, actually, from what we've been seeing. So there's a few builders that have kind of caught on to some savvy marketing ploys, but we're seeing brand new construction, pre-construction that's happening. It's drastically overpriced, and it is largely being bought by people who are not here, so they don't know the market, they don't know the areas, they don't know what it should compare as out here. Nice properties. Nice looking stuff. You can spin a story behind it. Rental guarantees are kind of the big one that's been going on. So it's investors, right? Yeah. Out of other areas. We just took a listing that was done by one. So revenue property as well, Toronto buyer. We're now trying to sell it. It's, they're purchased for more than the fair market value is here. Purchased it, I think, 2 years ago. Back then it seemed like it was going to be a good deal, with appreciation as it is.
Yeah.
You've got a 3-bedroom. 2 of the bedrooms are 6 foot by 6 foot.
Oh.
People aren't seeing it, and they're celebrating taking possession of these things. We're seeing a lot of that stuff out here right now. So I think is going to be.
You can't even put like a king bed in that.
You can't. You can barely put a single bed in there. Well, and literally, when you think about it, try and open the door.
Yeah. even with like a small double bed, you probably can't open the door.
Yeah, you can put a crib.
You have to have a simple bed and a chair and a light.
yeah, exactly. But we're seeing more and more of that over the last little bit here. We've got tons of realtors that have gotten into the business since COVID here in our marketplace, as is the rest of North America.
Oh yeah.
We've seen more and more investors leaving the Toronto market, coming in here with a land of opportunity, buy 3 for the price of 1 there. But it's not being bought very smartly, which is really unfortunate because there's a lot of people that just don't know our market that are doing this. I think that's really gonna hit ahead in the next 2 years, where we start to see that inventory really piling into our market then as well. We're bound for some ups and downs here over the next little bit. There's just no 2 ways around it. We're bound for some ups and downs. And I don't know if you're going to be seeing that, in Edmonton, in Ottawa, in Toronto, what you're kind of seeing in the rest of the country. I'd be interested to hear what your take is on what's going on kind of Canada-wide on some of this as well.
When I came here a year ago, end of April, we wanted to check it out before moving completely from Montreal. I saw a lot of condos And when I look on a realtor in Edmonton, there are $150,000, $200,000 condos in like 2 bedrooms in really beautiful buildings, not the high end with the latest architecture, but very good products at 200, 150 good, 200,000 very good. And the same condo will be probably 450, 500,000 in Montreal, right? So I said, this is wow, let's buy. And then when I continued on realtor, I kept on seeing opportunities, tens of them, hundreds of them. So I stopped and I said, we can't buy because I don't know why. It's the market it's very good, but they're not selling.
Yeah.
And we walk in here every night in Edmonton up to the legislature. And so we see a lot of condos being put up for sale and not moving months and months. So that's like a contradiction that I saw when I came here. Okay. So single homes, I believe they're selling well here. I don't know Calgary, but Edmonton in condos, they're not selling at all. And of course, a lot of them have like 500, 600, 700, 800 condo fees a month. Some of them 1,200, which is it's exaggerated. So that's, I believe, it's one of the differences. And I was also curious to see. So how was it before the pandemic? You said you had big price drops, 30, 40% at some point. If you want to talk about that, I'm really curious about. So the price drops in Alberta, then leading up to the pandemic, the prices, and also the how long it took a property to be sold, and the difference after the pandemic. So the price drops, pandemic, then after the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely a bit of a tale of two cities for sure. The apartment style condominiums have been crazy all over the place, whereas single family has been, kind of more just a good steady gain, across. But the condos, back when Calgary started their, I call it the up, not out policy. So they were just trying to, we're a huge city of urban sprawl. So they were really trying to just contain things back, less driving, more condominium living, more high rise, that sort of thing, more multifamily.
15 minutes.
But they just, what's that?
It's 15-minute cities. Like you got everything around you in a 15 minutes radius.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very walkable communities, less driving. Better for the environment, everything else. But that's not Calgary. Like people who live here, they want big, wide open spaces. Yeah,
exactly.
So we
eat some big steaks, man, and go to the rodeo.
Well, and I've had a few conversations with people about the people from Toronto. Wow, people from Toronto, they move out here, they're used to that, so they'll buy these things down here. They don't. They move out here, they really want big lots and big yards.
Exactly.
But for the investments, they'll buy those downtown condos. Exactly. But back in about 2008, our prices on condominiums dropped by like pretty close to 50%. If you had a $350,000 condo, it was worth $175,000 by the next year. 3 years ago, you could not give a condo away. Like you just couldn't. There was so many of them on the market. It was ridiculous. Unbelievable amounts of them were vacant. They would sit for 6, 7, 8 months. They'd be, terminated, withdrawn, expired, come back on over and over and over again. Move that up to within the last 2 years post-pandemic, and suddenly you got something under 200,000. Forget it. That thing is gone. It can be horrible. It can smell like nothing you've ever smelled before, and you're still going to get in multiple offers in the first day and well over ask. It's tempered down a little bit, but anything under 600,000 still in any type of property type here it's gone. Like it's still gone very, very quickly, even with our easing on sales and even with the increased inventory. But apartment style condos for sure. They have taken a massive jump off of the horrible spot that they were in before. Having said that, they've also done the biggest decrease over the last little bit here as well. So we're getting a little bit more normalization in there, but it's been all over the place. I feel bad for anybody who bought a condo 12 years ago and sold it 3 years ago, because they took some massive hits. They took some massive hits. But if you bought 3 years ago and just sold now, or keeping it for a little bit while longer, you know, you're probably fared pretty well in your investment. You've probably done quite well, because you bought in low and sold high.
Yeah. Buy the dip, sell the high.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think that's, everybody knows it, but I think one of the reasons why we're seeing a 37% increase in our inventory right now is because we've seen a 20% decrease in sales. You know, people tend to do the opposite of what we all know that we should do. Like we really do. I know to buy low and sell high, and yet I'm more likely to buy high and sell low. Look at how amazing that stock's doing. I've got to buy it. Oh my gosh, it's plummeted. I guess I better get rid of it.
And then boom, backs up.
It's human nature to kind of do these things.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I love trading. Okay, when you understand it, it's very beautiful. It's very beautiful.
When you do what you know you're supposed to do.
Yes, it's true, Chris. Yeah. It's true. It's true. We talked about before the podcast. It's true. That's one of the reasons I switched from real estate, but I still want to do podcast and meet people. I really love people and be social. But as a profession, I love trading. Yeah.
It's a little too tumultuous for me. I'll stick with the real estate.
It's true. It's true.
We're getting enough of it here.
it's completely other thing. Okay. And sometimes when I open positions, depend on the strategy. For example, if I do an iron condor on the SPX, on the S&P 500, which I would say today will stay between this price and this price, and you make money at the end of the day if they stay there. But you have to be ready at every minute. Okay, when you catch a day that you believe you'll stay inside, you can do pretty well with not a lot of money. Okay, but you have to stay at your desk for every second, every minute, because you can go and then like you're losing. You understand? So it's not.
Well, unfortunately, I do understand, because that was real estate here, working for buyers in the past year and a half. Sit at your desk, hope something comes through, and hit that button to book an appointment immediately, because that's the only way your buyers would.
And hope they'll only have like 8 multiple offers instead of 25.
Yeah, very literally.
Yeah, remember, it's like, how many offers you have? 4. Oh, we can work with that.
Yeah.
Let me talk to my buyer. 48. I don't know. Yeah.
It's been pretty crazy here. Like it really has. It really has. And a lot of people got really caught up in it too. So it's nice to see that they're getting some breaks.
Yeah. And right now, Chris, let's go to the second subject of today, which is housing starts tumble. I found this article from 2 days ago when I was preparing for the podcast. So Reuters reports that Canadian, not Albertan, okay, but Canadian housing starts tumble 22%. So the housing starts, for people who listen, is that a new home, a new building, it's being built. It's like a new building. It's called a housing start. And those tumbled 22% in August. 22% is pretty big. It's not like a 2% or 5%, like my example with the prices, fluctuates a little bit. It's something to talk about. And I know, because we talked about it before, that it's not necessarily the same thing in Alberta again. So if we look at the annualized rate of housing starts, they fell to 217,405 units from a revised 279,804. So that's about 280 to 20, 60 something thousand starts that have vanished. and economists had expected starts to fall to 252 units. Okay, so I would like to talk about what do you believe it will happen next. We touched a little bit, but we focused on before the pandemic, on the pandemic, what's the time to sell, the prices, and up and down and up again, how long it would take. Right now, I would like to focus on the future. So if the housing starts tumble 22% in Canada, do you believe that will influence, and in which way, the prices? In which way, and in what time frame? A month, 3 months, 6 months, 10 years?
Yeah, well, and I guess this kind of goes back then to the government policies again too. Like right now, we're trying to stimulate the economy still, although a bit less, and we're trying to deal with a housing shortage. Well, the housing shortage largely is due to because of the way they try to stimulate the economy. Give money away so people spend more,
print money,
and you really increase the immigration. Like the best way to stimulate is just have more people buying things. But if that caused issues in the past, such as housing shortages, and they then stem that, so we're going back the other way, where does that leave us longer term? I don't think it's bad actually nationally that we've got decreased housing starts necessarily, although I'm not an economist, so who knows. But regardless, either way, we're seeing quite the opposite here in Calgary and Alberta. Both Edmonton and Calgary have massive housing starts that are coming up here.
It's true. It's true.
A lot of multifamily. Yeah. Tons and tons of
Edmonton. I saw an article. I should have put it here. Yes, housing starts in Edmonton. It's big right now.
Yeah. Well, and so there's a large number of those housing starts though that are rentals. Like that line has gone up like this. Like that graph looks like this, very literally. But even on the non-built for rental purposes, there's a lot of investors that are buying these still too. So pretty typically, I've heard numbers as high as like 50% of the condos that are purchased in Toronto are by investors. Here, it was kind of always somewhere around the 20%. I think we're easing up towards that 50% now. So they're being built, but who are they being necessarily built for, I guess would be the other question. And if they're all being built and or purchased for rental properties, and then the immigration goes down, and so we don't have that population booms like we've been having, we might be stuck with a glut again of properties. I think the single family homes will do well, even though we've got quite a few more.
And row and semi-detached.
Yeah, but this whole multifamily thing, I don't know. It seems to be it's like a ping pong match. We're just watching the ball bounce back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So we'll see where that goes. I'm optimistic, but I'm pessimistically optimistic because it could change in a heartbeat. We've got elections coming up. We've got elections in the States coming up. We've got policy changes that are going to be taking place. So how that affects things longer term, I don't know. It remains to be seen.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it, Rodrigo? I'm interested to know where you're seeing things not being mired here, and because we get very inundated into it every day, and so we kind of see things as we see it, but it's based on our own personal reflections, and sometimes it's a little harder to stand up on the bridge and just kind of see where things are going. And you've got probably a lot better national view than I do. Where do you see things happening with the builds?
You bring in a very good point about the immigration, and that's also my point. And a week ago, when they announced the temporary workers, not the minister, but some guy said our GDP is based 90% on immigration.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, Fraser or the other one, the minister, immigration minister, took the microphone and said, actually, it's 50 to 60%. So 50 to 60% of Canadian GDP, it's due to immigration. So that's a big deal. Okay, why? Because I moved to Edmonton. In my building, there is a lot of people, a lot of immigrants. I'm an immigrant, you know. So, but I immigrated from Montreal in this case. Okay, before I was from Romania to Montreal, now to Montreal to Romania. Here we have people in this building: Mexico, India, China, obviously, so many countries. Morocco. So many countries here, okay? Palestine, Ukraine, okay? We have like probably 10 couples here in this building, Ukraine refugees.
Yeah.
So I believe that at one point, those people will have a decision to take because of the cost of living here in Canada, okay? Because the cost of living has gone up so much that many people think about leaving Canada, immigrants going back to the countries. It's gone so bad that if you go on YouTube, one of the trending subjects is "I'm leaving Canada." And Canadians doing those videos, like from Saskatchewan, from Alberta, from Ontario, they're moving to Europe, especially Eastern Europe, like Serbia, Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, you understand, around there, Poland. And that, I believe, in my opinion, it's something to look for. To put a number on it, I don't know. But that, in my opinion, in the next years, we have to watch this because it's true what you're saying. I'm 100% with that. If we continue to build homes and the immigration stops because people don't want to be here anymore, then I believe we'll have a problem with the housing. And second point, it's production. Okay, we are way less productive than before. Alberta is a little bit different. I feel it immediately. It's a different culture. But I'm not talking about Alberta now. I'm talking about Canada overall.
Yeah.
So Canada has a production problem, and everyone knows it. We do not produce, and plus the 50-60% of our GDP is immigration. So clearly we have a big production crisis. Young people lost hope. People stop having kids because of the cost of living, which when you don't have kids, your life is different, and there's other problems that come. You know, when you don't have kids to humble you, you understand, to put a life in perspective, not only making profits and stuff like that. So those are the points that I believe that we should watch in the next months, years, to see where the market will go.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you say that. We had my wife and I had dinner with one of my agents and her husband. They're from Iran. Her brother just moved here, just moved to Toronto. Actually, he was here for 6 months. He moved back.
Oh yeah,
done.
Yeah,
it's being spun in a way, we have a fantastic, great country, but
oh my God,
it's
the best,
the
most beautiful, especially Alberta.
Yeah,
Alberta and BC.
There's some pretty gorgeous landscape out here. There absolutely is, but it's not all glory though either. And even things like doctors. You move to a new place, try and find a doctor. Try and find a family physician. I've had multiple people over the last little bit who've either moved here or moved out of Alberta into BC, particularly the island over the last little bit, that are now moving or looking to move back either way because they can't get a doctor. They can't find somebody who will take them in, because we do have, growing pains through a lot of this, which once again was imposed in a very meaningful way, very intentional, just not necessarily the best thought out. So.
Exactly. In Quebec, I believe is the biggest problem. I was on a list to have a family doctor for 10 or 11 years.
Yeah.
So I came here. Here, I don't know how it's in Calgary, but here in Edmonton, there's a lot of walk-in clinics. You can go tomorrow. You can have an appointment with the family doctor, and you can choose that doctor to be your family doctor. My girlfriend just went to 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So for us, I don't see that problem, okay? Because you cannot get a doctor in Quebec. You cannot. You can't. The only thing is emergency. You cannot. I don't know how to do it. But here in Edmonton, she had a choice for 5 or 6 people around where we live, in 2-3 days time appointment.
Yeah.
Which for us, it's impressive.
And you know what? For us, that would be impressive too. I wish we had that same.
So Calgary is different.
What's that?
In Calgary is different.
Yeah. No, we've got a definite shortage here. I don't think it's as bad as a number of the other places, Quebec, like you were talking about, like the island out of Vancouver. Really quite bad out there. But it's still tough for people to find that family physician. You can do the walk-ins. For sure. You're going to be sitting for a lot longer, but you can't do them. It's just getting that one person that kind of knows you, over that time, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. And that is just, one of the multitudes of things that become a bit of an issue when you just get that much growth that fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Chris, let's go to the last subject, which is a subject from Quebec.
Yeah. I think I know which one you mean, Dragos. I think I know which one you mean.
So I did this on the French podcast as well.
Yeah.
And the guy that I do a podcast with, he went to school with those people, with the lady, the woman. So basically, 2 Quebec real estate brokers suspended for using fake bids to drive up prices. Okay, and they were suspended for 14 years.
Yeah.
The lady.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend was for 9 years. And I don't know if I see it here, but I saw it in the French. Okay, yeah. So she's facing a fine of $50,000 and her boyfriend $10,000. Okay. So the 2 brokers were suspended in May, and they got sentenced a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Why? Because this is just an example. Then I can tell you other stories, because I know the stories from the French article, which is longer. Mm-hmm. So one buyer ended up paying $40,000 more than his initial offer in 2022 after Girouard, the lady, and Dauphiné Fortin concocted a second bid on the house he wanted to buy. So basically, Chris, this is amazing. And this lady had a show on a channel called Casa TV in Quebec, and the show was called Number One. And she was explaining, she was talking about this, how to do this, how to push prices up for weeks before they got a complaint.
Yeah.
Which I can't believe it happened. So what they were doing is that they were, because of the pandemic, multiple offers, like I told you, and houses was flying off the shelves. They were having people, not necessarily them or their brokers and their teams, but other people, family or friends, that they were making fake offers
Yeah.
in order to drive up prices. So if they got a $400,000 offer on a $375,000 home, and they got another one 405, another one 405, another one 405, another one 410, another 420. You get the point, like after 20 offers. And they would come in and make an offer or two that it was higher, probably 20, 30, 40,000, to oblige the buyer, which is most interested in buying the property, to drive up the price. And one of the problems that I know is not only the brokers, is that in Canada we can't, I don't know if in Alberta we can, but in Quebec we cannot share the price that other people are offering in the bid wars. Okay, and most states, United States, you can share that. So you would say, I have $80,000 offer. You want to offer 85, which would be beautiful and perfect.
Yeah.
But in Quebec we can't. You cannot share the price. So people end up paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 more than they should, because that's hidden.
They don't know what that other bid is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to start with our first episode of this, of making a link to Quebec, and also wanna see if this happened, or can it happen? What rules are different, or what do the RECA, right?
Yeah.
Does to make this impossible, or at least very difficult to do.
Yeah. Well, and so I think they used to be a bit of an issue in the past, which I don't think we see much anymore here, but I would be hard pressed to say it never happens. In fact, I'd heard rumors of a particular agent here that had done it in the past, unsubstantiated, so I'm not going to comment too much on it, but leave it to say that I believe it probably does still happen a little bit here, but I don't think it's an overwhelming thing. We have never been able to disclose another offer to anybody in the past.
So it's the same.
Yeah, but they changed that. Our regulatory board changed that a while ago, because I think they realized that isn't necessarily our call to make. It's the seller's call to make. Yeah,
it's selfish thinking about that. It's selfish. Yeah. And did you say selfish?
Well, I think it's very selfish, and I also think it's very illusory.
Yeah.
Like the thought that that's going to keep everybody on the up and up is kind of crazy. But yeah, the ability for a seller to now give their agent permission to say what those other offers are, I think really does help things.
Okay, so you need your client's permission, though.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
Yeah, with the seller's permission. Do you want me to disclose what these other offers are? Hey, John, we'd love to work with you. This other offer is higher by yours by $5,000, though. If you can come up 10, I can make this happen.
Exactly.
Like we can say that now with the seller's permission. Without the seller's permission, no, it's, hey, the other offer is higher. Guys, what can you do? Can you come out with your best foot forward?
Yeah.
And bring them up from there. And that's
there's usually, if I was the seller, I wouldn't disclose that, because in an example with the 5 or 10 multiple offers, you don't want to disclose that, because you want a person to pay $20,000 over the other person.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of somewhere where, for the seller's benefit and to do it in a very legitimate way, sometimes you do, because sometimes that other offer is quite a bit better, but maybe it's not quite a bit better. You can have $100,000 offer over ask price with a $10,000 deposit and no financing condition, and that thing just cost you every other offer that was actually legitimate, because at closing date they can't close because they got caught up in it and they don't have the ability to do that. Whereas you might know somebody else, or have a very good idea that somebody else is going to be very solid in their financing, and maybe they even have a financing condition. something like that's not always a bad thing for a seller, for a financing condition to be
Oh
in there, because
no.
you're starting to see more and more of these come through where it's like, got caught up. Dang, I can't do this. Well, that leaves everybody in a bit of a pickle now.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of pickled properties out there. And sorry, a little bit off topic on that, I guess, but yeah, I guess we do always run the risk of seeing these people bringing in these fake multiple offers, and sometimes it's the sellers themselves that are getting their buddies to do it through an unsuspecting agent who doesn't even have a clue that this is going on. So it does happen out there. It does happen for sure. It would be really nice to see the regulatory bodies have a little bit more investigative power, more manpower out there to check on every little thing, but they can't. So sometimes it happens and sometimes it slips through. I just hope it doesn't happen like it did there, because that is definitely a mar on our entire industry.
Oh yeah. And I see here in Quebec, and we will probably talk about it in the next podcast, for sale by owners. We have a company which is called Du Proprio, which is in French is from the owner. It's the same company that is Come Free. It's called Come Free, I believe, in Ontario. I don't know if they exist in Alberta, but in English side of Canada, it's called Come Free.
Yeah.
And they're like, green and, like colors, like colorful colors. And so they have 30% of the market in Quebec. 30.
Wow. Didn't realize it was that high.
It's very high. And I heard about it in other provinces, it's maybe 10, 12, 15 for sale by the owners.
Yeah.
But Quebec, it's really, really, really into selling by themselves. And that those type of stories don't help, because Quebecers are less of outgoing aggression. It's more like they take a decision, and then they will never call you again, or they will never work with a broker again. It's the mentality. Okay, it's less like I'll get back to you. It's more like, I understood, I take my decision, I don't want to do that anymore, and it's over. And that didn't help. And it's true, and it's also for the industry a bad name and bad situation for the industry. Yes.
Yeah, fair. Well, and we don't see the for sale by owners market share anywhere near here what it is, particularly in the East. My hometown was a small town in Ontario, much larger share. We just don't see it here. Like we really don't. And we've had a few people try and come into the market and do it, and they just never really took off. It's weird how different two very similar markets can be, because we're really not that much different in most respects, from our Eastern brothers, but we are in other ways. So
yeah, it's true. So now it's like East meets West with us.
Yeah.
And this show. So we're going to have a lot of fun. A lot of fun, Chris. And do you have something else to add on today's podcast?
Yeah, I'd say just stay tuned for the next one. And I'm anxious to see what we're going to chat about next time. Travis.
Yeah. Yes. It was very good. It was a pleasure. And we'll do this every week. And I would like to thank you all for your time and your listening. And we will see you next week. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good one.
Ciao, Chris.